He spent half a month in Paris with his moonwhite light. Only then did Zhou Yuan remember he had a wife who had just given birth. He held the roses, a symbol of his perfunctory apology, and pretended to rush home, weary from his travels. But the nanny who opened the door looked terrified. Trembling, she told him, "Sir, the madam moved out with the young lady 13 days ago." The smile froze on Zhou Yuan's face. I calculated the time. Today was the day Zhou Yuan returned to the country, including the 13-hour flight and the 1-hour drive from the airport to home. He would likely push open the cold, imposing door of the villa around 4 in the afternoon. My new home faces south, bathed in excellent sunlight, and the heating is turned up high. My daughter lay in my arms, sleeping soundly, her little face flushed, her breathing even. I could even clearly imagine what Zhou Yuan looked like at this very moment. He would be wearing a well-tailored overcoat. In his hand, he'd hold a bouquet of champagne roses, his usual trick, using a touch of insignificant ceremony to mask his half-month of neglect towards me. He would carry a weariness, yet a smile that suggested complete control would linger on his lips. He would push open the door, habitually calling my name, Song Ci, or wife. He would think that, like countless times before, I would embrace our newborn daughter, go to meet him, take his coat, and change into his slippers. Then, I would listen to him use that same unoriginal excuse to explain how unavoidable his trip to Paris had been. For an extremely important collaboration. For the company's future. He wouldn't mention Su Wan at all. He thought I knew nothing. Aunt Wang would emerge from the kitchen, her face etched with terror. She would tell him in a trembling voice, "Sir, the madam moved out 13 days ago with the young miss." The smile on Zhou Yuan's face would freeze. Inch by inch, the rose in his hand will fall to the ground. He will rush up to the second floor, like an enraged lion. Then, he will see an emptied home. In the master bedroom, all my clothes, jewelry, and skincare products will have vanished without a trace. The walk-in closet was more than half empty, as if a chunk of flesh had been gouged out with a knife. The nursery, even more so. The crib, the cradle, tiny clothes, diapers, formula. Every trace that proved a new life had once existed here. I had erased. Only an empty room remained, and the smell of dust filled my nostrils. On the bedside table, he would see the divorce agreement I had already signed. My name, Song Ci, was written clearly and resolutely. He would go mad. Will taste what it's like to panic for the first time. Thinking of this, I lowered my head and kissed my daughter's warm forehead. Baby, we're free. The day we left that house, the weather was beautiful, just like today. There was warm sunshine. The day after Zhou Yuan flew to Paris, I finished my confinement period. My body was still a little weak, but my mind had never been so clear. I didn't cry, nor did I linger. That villa was never a home to me. It was merely a show home for Zhou Yuan to display his success, and I was the cheapest furnishing within it. I called a moving company. On the phone, I calmly told them that there weren't many things to move, but they were all small and scattered. They asked me about the old address, the new address. I gave them both. After hanging up the phone, I started packing my things. I only took what belonged to me, and everything I had prepared for my daughter. The jewelry and bags Zhou Yuan gave me, I haven't touched a single one. They are locked away in the safe, just like our marriage, which was locked in place. Auntie Wang watched from the side, her heart filled with trepidation. She asked cautiously, "Madam, what are you doing?" "The master will be angry when he returns." I smiled. "Auntie Wang, he won't. He'll just think I'm finally out of his way." I gave Auntie Wang a sum of money, more than her annual salary. I told her, "Thank you for taking care of me all these years." She held the card, at a loss for what to do. Finally, she just said, "Madam, you are a good person." The moving company's truck arrived quickly, The workers were highly efficient, and in less than 2 hours, everything was loaded onto the truck, holding my infant daughter. I took one last look at the empty living room. The crystal chandelier refracted a cold light. On the leather sofa, it felt as though Zhou Yuan's body heat still lingered, but I knew that wasn't mine. Before I left, I placed the divorce agreement on the nightstand in the master bedroom, in the most conspicuous spot. I even thoughtfully prepared a pen for him. I got into the car and told the driver, "Drive." The car pulled out of the villa complex, and I didn't look back. 7 years of married life flashed through my mind like a long movie playing in reverse. From our passionate love in college to the proposal after graduation. From the hardships of his early entrepreneurial days to the glory of his company's IPO. I once thought we were partners who shared both joys and sorrows. Only later did I realize that his world was growing larger and larger, while my world had shrunk to only encompass him. When I was pregnant, I suffered terribly from morning sickness. He started coming home less and less, citing work as the reason. I went to my prenatal checkups alone, and I was the one who suffered leg cramps late at night, my belly growing larger. On the day our daughter was born, he waited outside the delivery room. I thought he was worried about me, but when I was pushed out, he glanced at the child, and the first thing he said was, "Boy or girl?" When the doctor told him it was a girl, the light in his eyes instantly dimmed. He only stayed at the hospital for 1 day. The next day, he told me there was an urgent project in Paris that required his personal attention. At that time, Suwon's Moments had already been updated with her photo under the Eiffel Tower. The caption read, "It's so good to have you, Zhou Yuan. You see, your methods of deception are really not that clever. Or perhaps, you simply disdain to put any effort into me." My phone rang precisely at 4:05 p.m. The caller ID read, "Zhou Yuan." I stared at the name, calmly declined the call, then powered off my phone and removed the SIM card. In one go, a brand new, unopened SIM card lay on the coffee table beside me. I swapped it out with practiced ease. Only 3 people were informed of the new phone number: my parents, my lawyer, and my best friend, Qin Jing. After finishing all this, silence returned to the room. My daughter was still asleep, so I gently placed her in the cradle. I sat down at the desk and opened my laptop. On the screen was my business plan, revised countless times. Before getting married, I was an account director at a top advertising firm. Zhou Yuan said I didn't need to work so hard, that he would provide for me. So, I dedicated myself to him, cooking and caring for him, abandoning my career and dreams. Now, I will pick them up, one by one. Zhou Yuan's calls will probably bombard my now invalid number like a madman. He will find that it's unreachable. Then, he will call my parents. I had given my parents a heads up beforehand. My parents, both honest and upright intellectuals, were initially shocked and bewildered by my decision to divorce. I only asked them one question: if your daughter, after going through the gates of hell to give birth to a child, found her husband accompanying another woman to watch the snow, would you still want her to stay in this marriage? On the other end of the line, there was a long silence. Finally, my dad said, in a tone of unprecedented firmness, "Cece, come home. Mom and Dad will take care of you." I said, "Dad, no need. I can do it myself. I will live better than anyone else with your granddaughter. I know that if Zhou Yuan calls my father, he'll only be met with the harshest reprimands. He'll be rebuffed. Then, he'll call Qin Jing. I can completely predict Qin Jing's reaction. She would probably pick up the phone and, with the most venomous language in the world, curse Zhou Yuan from head to toe. Then, while he was still stunned, hang up decisively. This man, Qin Jing, has cursed him to me quite a few times over the past few years. She would say, "Song Ci, you're blinded by greed. A man like Zhou Yuan only cares about himself." I never believed her before. Now. I believe it. When all other avenues were blocked, Zhou Yuan would deploy his resources. He would hire private investigators, scrutinize my bank statements, and delve into my personal identification information. He believed that money could solve all problems. He thought that without him, I wouldn't be able to take a single step. I opened my mobile banking app and looked at the 7-figure balance in my account. Then I smiled. This money was what I had saved up, little by little, from the living expenses Zhou Yuan had given me over the years. He always thought I was a housewife who was insensitive to numbers. He didn't know that my university major was finance. Every sum of money he gave me, I meticulously planned and invested. The moment I decided to leave, I transferred all the money from my accounts into a new one opened with my mother's ID. As for my own ID, I'm sorry, Zhou Yuan. In this world, there's a service called full power of attorney. My lawyer will handle everything. You want to investigate me? I would only find that my personal information seemed to have vanished into thin air. I turned off the computer and walked to the window. The afterglow of the setting sun spilled into the room, making everything feel warm and cozy. And in that villa, tens of kilometers away, Zhou Yuan was probably enveloped in a cold darkness. He would call me again and again, his tone shifting from initial anger to impatience, and finally to a panic he himself didn't even notice. He would break things. It might be the crystal ashtray on the table, or perhaps a painting on the wall. He needed to drown out the emptiness and loss of control within him with tremendous noise. He would sit on that vast, empty bed, and for the first time, truly feel how large, how cold, the house was. He would try to recall what the house was like when I was still here, but he couldn't, because he had never cared. In his memory, I am forever a blur, a docile shadow, forever waiting. He will begin to wonder where I have gone. He will think of every place I might have gone. My parents' home, Qinjing's home, the cities we've visited. He would send people to look. Then, they would receive one negative answer after another. This process could last for days, or even weeks. His patience would be worn away. Little by little, would he begin to regret it? I didn't know. Perhaps what he regretted wasn't losing me. Rather, he lost a worry-free appendage, a stable rear guard that allowed him to be at ease with his dalliances outside. His self-esteem, his desire for control, had been challenged as never before. This was the root of all his panic. He doesn't love me. He simply couldn't accept that his possessions dared to leave him of their own accord. The phone vibrated. It was a text message from Qinjing. Done. That bastard just called. I gave him a piece of my mind. He's probably staring at his phone in a daze right now. Awesome. I sent her a smiling emoji. Nicely done. Qinjing's call came through immediately. Cece, are you settled over there? How's the baby? Everything is fine. Don't worry. That's good. Let me tell you. Zhou Yuan's voice. It sounded like he was about to cry. So fake. He said, is Song Ci with you? Let her pick up the phone. There's been a misunderstanding between us. Pfft. A huge misunderstanding. When he was flying high with that Suwan in Paris. Why didn't he think about misunderstandings? I listened quietly. My heart remained unmoved. Jing, don't be angry with him. It's not worth it. I'm not angry for him. I'm heartbroken for you. Qinjing's voice was a little choked. You just gave birth. Your body hasn't recovered yet. And you have to worry about these damn things. It's all in the past now. I said. I'm doing very well now. Really well. The air felt fresher without Zhou Yuan. It was on the third day that Zhou Yuan's assistant, Li Hang, contacted my lawyer. It wasn't that he had extraordinary means. Rather, I had my lawyer proactively send a legal notice to Zhou Yuan's company. The content was simple. Please be advised that my client, Ms. Song Ci, has formally filed for divorce proceedings with the court. Kindly ensure you receive the relevant documents. I can only imagine Mr. Zhou Yuan's expression upon receiving this email. It was likely even more dramatic than when he discovered his home had been emptied. He thought I was merely throwing a tantrum, playing games. He didn't expect me to go straight to legal proceedings. When Li Hang called my lawyer, his tone still carried the arrogance typical of Zhou Yuan. Are you lawyer Zhang? I'm Mr. Zhou's assistant. Our Mr. Zhou would like to have a word with Ms. Song. I believe there must be some misunderstanding here. My lawyer, Zhang Qi, was known in the industry as the Iron Mouth. He was experienced in dealing with people like this. Lawyer Zhang replied in a calm tone. Assistant Li, my client currently does not wish to have any personal contact with Mr. Zhou. All communication, please go through me. Furthermore, this is not a misunderstanding. It is a notification. Lawyer Zhang, you may not be fully aware of Mr. Zhou's status. If this matter escalates, it will not benefit anyone. A quarrel between husband and wife is often resolved by mourning. Why must it come to this? Li Hang was still trying to exert pressure. My client's stance is very firm. If Mr. Zhou refuses to divorce by agreement, then we will see each other in court. As for the status of Mr. Zhou that you mentioned, I apologize, but before the law, everyone is equal. Lawyer Zhang finished speaking and hung up the phone. He sent me the call recording. After listening, I found it laughable. Even at this point, Zhou Yuan was still concerned about his reputation. His status. He wasn't trying to win me back. He wanted to quell this matter, to prevent it from becoming a stain on his illustrious resume. That afternoon, Zhou Yuan himself called Lawyer Zhang's mobile. This time, his voice was laced with suppressed fury. Get Song Ci on the phone. He commanded. Almost. Mr. Zhou, as I've said before, please communicate anything with me. After 7 years of marriage with her, I don't even have the right to speak to her anymore. This is my client's wish. What does she want? Money. I'll give it to her. I have an apartment in the west of the city. I can transfer the ownership to her name. I can also give her 5% of the company's shares. Tell her to come back and stop this drama. Zhou Yuan's tone was as if he were dismissing a difficult business partner. Using money, using shares to measure our past. Lawyer Zhang calmly relayed his conditions. I told Lawyer Zhang, reply to him, I don't want anything, only a divorce and custody of our daughter. Lawyer Zhang conveyed my exact words. On the other end of the line, Zhou Yuan fell silent. After a long pause, he finally spoke in a voice that was almost a growl. She can forget it. The child belongs to the Zhou family. She can't take it away. I had anticipated he would say that. The child was his last resort, and also his most ridiculous excuse. What right did a father who couldn't even remember how many days old his own child was have to talk about custody? Lawyer Zhang, tell him, if he insists on fighting for custody, I will submit all the evidence of his infidelity in court. This includes the real reason for his trip to Paris, his hotel records with Miss Su Wan, and the large transfers from his bank account to Miss Su Wan. I believe the media would be very interested in these things. These pieces of evidence were meticulously gathered over the past 6 months, all without him suspecting a thing. Every time he came home late, every time he lied about a business trip, every time Su Wan subtly flaunted things on social media, each instance became a card in my hand. I once thought these cards would never have a chance to be played. I once humbly hoped he would turn back, until I was in the delivery room, writhing in agony, while he was on the other side of the world, celebrating Valentine's Day with Su Wan. My heart died at that moment. After Lawyer Zhang relayed my words to Zhou Yuan, he completely lost it. His furious roars and the sound of things being smashed could be heard over the phone. Song Ci, you dare to investigate me. You're something else. Lawyer Zhang calmly held the phone a little further away, and after Zhou Yuan had vented, he said indifferently, Mr. Zhou. It seems we have nothing more to discuss today. I'll see you in court. After hanging up the phone, lawyer Zhang sent me a message. Ms. Song. He's getting anxious. We have the upper hand. I looked at the message, my heart unmoved. This wasn't a war. And I didn't want to claim victory. I just want to reclaim the clean life that should have been mine. For the next few days, Zhou Yuan seemed to have vanished. He didn't contact lawyer Zhang again. I guessed he was using all his connections to verify the authenticity of the evidence I had presented. Meanwhile, he hadn't given up on searching for me and our daughter. Qin Jing told me that unfamiliar vehicles had been loitering downstairs from her apartment building for the past couple of days. In my parents' residential compound, people had also been inquiring suspiciously. Zhou Yuan still didn't understand. He thought that finding me would solve the problem. But he didn't know that the problem was never about where I was. The problem lay with him. On the 7th day, Su Wan called me. It was an unfamiliar number. I picked it up and remained silent. Her usual sweet, cooing voice came through. Sister Song Ci. It's me. What is it? My voice was cold. Yuan. He hasn't been in a good state these past few days. And company matters have been delayed. I know you're angry, but he really didn't mean it. That project in Paris is very important. And he did it for the company. For your home. She absolved herself of all responsibility and then wanted to label me as unreasonable. Miss Su. I interrupted her. In what capacity are you telling me this? On the other end of the phone, she choked for a moment. I just care about him as a friend. A friend. I chuckled. A friend who sleeps with him, lets him buy her millions in jewelry, and moves into his marital home. Su Wan's breathing hitched. What nonsense are you spouting? You know perfectly well whether I'm talking nonsense or not. I advise you to stay out of my business. Otherwise, the next letter you receive will be from a lawyer. They'll sue you for breaking up a family. After I finished speaking, I hung up the phone and blocked the number. Talking to people like that, even for another word, is a waste of time. Su Wan's call was like a stone dropped into stagnant water. It didn't stir any waves, only further solidified my conviction that my decision was the right one. A man, when dealing with conflict with his wife, actually needs another woman to relay messages. This in itself is a great irony and disrespect. Zhou Yuan. He has never placed me in an equal position. In his eyes, I was probably no different from Aunt Wang, his driver, or any replaceable employee in the company. The only difference was that I had given him a child, and this child had now become a tool for him to control me. The following week was calm and uneventful. There was no further news from lawyer Zhang regarding Zhou Yuan. My guess was correct. He must be doing everything in his power to verify the authenticity of the evidence I hold. Given his personality, he would never compromise easily without facing a tangible threat. He's like a gambler, always believing the next card will turn the tables for him. This tranquility was shattered on the afternoon of the 8th day. Lawyer Zhang called me, his tone grave. Ms. Song. Zhou Yuan has made a new move. What did he say? I asked, my voice low as I held my daughter and nursed her. He didn't say anything, but he acted. Lawyer Zhang told me that Zhou Yuan had, through some shady channels, frozen all the bank cards and credit cards under my name. He probably wants to cut off your support at the source, put you in financial distress, and force you to contact him. After hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh. He underestimated me. Yes, I think so too, Lawyer Zhang said. I've already submitted an appeal to the bank, along with evidence of his illegal actions. He played the wrong card with this one. Thank you for your hard work, Lawyer Zhang. It's my duty. Lawyer Zhang continued. Also, there's one more thing. He started contacting some of our mutual friends, trying to gather information about you. And the result? The result was that those who truly cared about you kept their mouths shut. and those who were sycophantic couldn't offer any explanation. He reached only one conclusion: you, Song Si, had truly disappeared from his world. This was not surprising to me in the least. My social circle had been intentionally or unintentionally purified by Zhou Yuan after I got married. He didn't like me associating with wild girls like Qinjing. He preferred my social circle to consist of wives of his business partners. When we all sat together, the conversation invariably revolved around handbags, jewelry, and how to keep one's husband's heart. For a time, I tried to fit in, learning to be the perfect Mrs. Zhou. Looking back now, I was both pathetic and laughable then. Ms. Song. He's exhausted all his options. His next move might be something more extreme. Lawyer Zhang warned me, such as, for instance, he might turn to the media, portraying himself as a pitiful husband searching for his missing wife and child. He could use public opinion to pressure you. He will, I said calmly. He'd do anything for his reputation. Zhou Yuan's company was preparing for its next round of financing. A founder's family scandal was one of the risks the capital market least wanted to see. He had to maintain his devoted family man persona. Do we have any countermeasures? I asked. The best countermeasure is no countermeasure, Lawyer Zhang said. The more he performs, the more likely he is to reveal his flaws. We have concrete evidence of his infidelity, and that's our trump card. Until he shows his hand, our silence is the best strategy. I understand. After hanging up, my daughter finished her milk and let out a contented burp in my arms. I held her, gently patting her back, her tiny body, so soft, carrying the scent of milk. This is my entire world. Zhou Yuan, did you think freezing my bank card could trap me? Did you think cutting off my social life would isolate me? You forgot. Song Si, who I was before I became your wife. I was my parents' most proud daughter, a top student from the finance department of a prestigious university. You were once a career elite who led a team to secure multi-million-dollar projects. She is the woman you went to great lengths to win over. It was you who turned me into that clinging vine, dependent on you. Now, I'm going to be myself again. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, I was back in that cold villa. Zhou Yuan stood in the center of the living room, his eyes bloodshot as he questioned me. Song Si, why did you do this to me? Whatever you want, I can give it to you. Why must you destroy me? I looked at him, feeling like he was a complete stranger. I asked him, Zhou Yuan, have you ever loved me? He froze, remaining silent for a long time. The dream ended. Outside the window, the sky was faintly lit. I touched my cheek, and it was cold. So, I could still shed one last tear for that dead love. But that was the end of it. From today onwards, Song Si would live for herself. My new company was officially registered and established on a bright, sunny morning. The name was simple, just Chi Si. Embarking on Song Si's new life. For the company's office, I chose a co-working space. The rent was flexible, and the amenities were comprehensive, making it extremely cost-effective for a startup. I assembled a lean, capable team in the shortest possible time. 2 of them were capable individuals I had previously managed at an advertising firm. Upon hearing I was starting a business, they resigned without a second thought to join me. Another one was a tech genius Jinjing helped me recruit, responsible for the company's online operations. Every beginning is difficult, but seeing everyone busy in the office, I felt a long-lost sense of groundedness. During the day, I entrusted my daughter to a trustworthy nanny and devoted myself entirely to my work. At night, no matter how late it was, I would return home to bathe her myself, feed her, and lull her to sleep. The sweet scent of milk on her skin would make all the day's fatigue vanish. This is what life is. There's hope, warmth, and love. Qinjing would visit me and the baby almost every other day. Every time she came, it was like a shopping spree, with bags and bags of items. They were either imported toys for the baby or nourishing soups she'd cooked for me. "Look at you. Your face has gotten so thin and pointed," she said, pinching my cheek with concern. "Don't push yourself too hard. Your health is the foundation of everything." I smiled and drank the chicken soup she brought. "Don't worry. I know what I'm doing." "Oh, right. I have some gossip for you." Qinjing lowered her voice, her face full of mystery. "I heard that Suwon hasn't been having a very good time lately." "Oh." Zhou Yuan canceled the secondary card he gave her and took back the apartment in the city center he had previously gifted her. Someone saw her waiting downstairs at Zhou Yuan's company to confront him, but she was escorted out by security. It was quite a pathetic scene. I remained silent, simply listening. She totally deserved it, Qinjing said with satisfaction. She thought Zhou Yuan truly loved her. How naive. A man like that only ever loves himself. He was good to her before just because he was bored. Now that something's happened on your end, affecting his career and reputation, she's instantly gone from white moonlight to stumbling block. Qinjing's analysis was spot on. That's just the kind of person Zhou Yuan is. An ultimate egoist. In his eyes, everyone and everything could be quantified by their value. What is useful, I keep by my side. What is useless, or becomes a burden, I discard immediately. For the past 7 years, I was that useful one. And Suwon, she has now become that burden. Do you think Zhou Yuan regrets it already? Qinjing suddenly asked. I shook my head. He won't regret it. He's just angry because things are out of his control. That's true. Qinjing nodded. Old habits die hard. We were chatting when my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar local number. I was a little puzzled, but I answered it anyway. On the other end of the line, a voice I hadn't expected spoke. It was my ex-mother-in-law, Zhou Yuan's mother. Her voice sounded weary, tinged with pleading. Xiao Ci. It's me, Auntie. Hello. My voice was calm. This is the first time she's contacted me since I moved out. Xiao Ci. I know. It's Yuan's fault. She sighed. That scoundrel. They'll scold him severely when I get back. Don't be angry with him, okay? Her words were completely different from the scolding I had anticipated. Auntie, this isn't a matter of being angry or not. I know you've been wronged, she said, her voice catching. But the child is innocent. You and Yuan are, after all, husband and wife. Can't you sit down and talk things through? Must it come to divorce? She began to play the emotional card, using the child, using our past affection, to persuade me. It must be so hard for you, raising the child alone out there. Be good. Come home. Okay. Mom will stand up for you. Go home. That place was never my home. I was merely a free nanny there. A tool for childbirth. When I was pregnant, she never once came to see me. The reason is, she can't stand the smell of cooking fumes, and my home is always simmering soup. The day I gave birth, she was in the city. But she didn't even step foot inside the hospital. She said she was afraid of hospital germs. And now, she wants me to come home. Auntie, thank you for your concern. I emphasized those 2 words. But I've already made up my mind. My fate with Zhou Yuan has run its course. You stubborn child. How can you be so obstinate? Her tone finally betrayed impatience. Have you been listening to some outside instigation? Let me tell you. A divorced woman with a child will have a hard time ahead. You're still young. Don't ruin your future. I smiled. I will create my own future. You don't need to trouble yourself with it. After she finished, I didn't want to listen to her cliches anymore. So I hung up the phone directly. Qinjing, standing beside me, listened with her mouth agape. Holy crap. This old lady changes her tune faster than flipping a book. She used to barely acknowledge you. And now she's begging for your help. What took her so long? I silenced my phone and tossed it aside. Even a cornered dog will jump over the wall. When Zhou Yuan couldn't persuade me, he sent his mother. He thought that by using the authority of an elder and the traditional virtue of filial piety, he could suppress me. He still doesn't understand me. Any attempt to emotionally blackmail me will only make me detest you more. My mother-in-law's call was just the beginning. Over the next few days, I received calls from several lobbyists. There was Zhou Yuan's aunt, a mutual friend we once had, and even a vice president from his company. Their rhetoric was astonishingly consistent. First, they apologized on behalf of Zhou Yuan, saying he was merely confused for a moment. Then, they began to paint a bleak picture of my life after the divorce. Finally, they used the child to persuade me, saying that a child shouldn't have to live in a single-parent household. I dealt with them one by one, maintaining a polite demeanor but a firm stance. Eventually, I simply blocked all unknown numbers. The world finally became quiet. I knew this was Zhou Yuan's last struggle. When all hard and soft tactics had failed, he had only one path left. It was the one lawyer Zhang had predicted, leveraging public opinion. As expected, within a few days, an article titled "Billionaire CEO Desperately Seeks Postpartum Wife Who Fled. How Deep Is His Love?" It's truly moving began circulating across major financial and gossip media outlets. The article was written with vivid emotion, bringing tears to the eyes. In the narrative, Zhou Yuan is portrayed as a perfect husband, deeply affectionate and worn thin by love. He is successful in his career, yet his heart remains with his family. Due to work, he briefly travels abroad to handle urgent official business. Upon his return, he discovers his beloved wife has left without a word, taking their newborn child with her. Distraught and anxious, he mobilizes all his resources to search for them, but there is no news. The article also included several photos of Zhou Yuan. One showed him working late in the office, his brow furrowed, looking tired and lonely. Another captured him standing in an empty nursery, his back to the camera, exuding a sense of desolation and regret. The article concluded with a heartfelt confession from Zhou Yuan. "Wife, please come back. I know I was wrong. No matter where you are, please remember that I and this home are always waiting for you." As soon as this article was published, public opinion exploded. Countless netizens flooded Zhou Yuan's social media account with sympathy and support. "Mr. Zhou is so devoted. Sister-in-law, please come back quickly. Could it be postpartum depression? Family members need to be more caring. With such a good husband, why can't you see things clearly? If there's any misunderstanding, just talk it out. Don't let the child grow up without a father." For a time, I became that unreasonable, ungrateful bad woman. Qingjing saw the news and was so angry she almost threw her phone. Holy shit. Zhou Yuan is too shameless, twisting facts and manipulating public opinion. Why doesn't he go win an Oscar? She immediately wanted to log into her account and curse people out. I stopped her. "Qingjing, don't be impulsive. If you go and scold him now, you'll just be seen as a paid troll and it will expose our relationship. Then what should we do? Just let him smear our name like this." Qingjing was pacing anxiously. "Let him perform." I looked at the press release, my eyes cold. The higher he stands, the more it will hurt when he falls. Zhou Yuan's move was indeed brilliant. He placed himself on a moral high ground, exploiting the public's sympathy. If I were to jump out right now and present evidence of his infidelity to refute him, I would be dragged into an endless war of words. The public, when consuming gossip, never cares about the truth. They only care if the drama is sensational enough. I cannot be dragged into the mud with him. What I need to do is to pull the rug out from under him. I called Lawyer Zhang. "Lawyer Zhang, the time is almost right. I understand. Ms. Song." Lawyer Zhang's voice was steady and strong. "The court summons will be delivered to Zhou Yuan's desk this afternoon. Also, The evidence we collected earlier. I've already commissioned a professional notary agency to complete the evidence preservation. It can be submitted to the court, or the media, at any time, lawyer Zhang added. Excellent. After hanging up the phone, I opened the company's project proposal. If Zhou Yuan wants to fight a war of public opinion, then I'll fight him, but not on the gossip pages, rather on the business battlefield. Doesn't he want to maintain his perfect image as a successful entrepreneur? Then I'll use my expertise to defeat him in the same field. I will make him understand. I, Song Ci, have never been anyone's accessory. My leaving him will not result in a miserable downfall. On the contrary, I will live a more brilliant life. This, then, is the most ruthless revenge against him. That afternoon, a court summons and a formal letter from my lawyer were delivered to the high-spirited Zhou Yuan. The content of the lawyer's letter was simple. First, it demanded that Mr. Zhou Yuan immediately cease all actions infringing upon the reputation rights of my client, Ms. Song Ci, delete related false reports, and issue a public apology. Second, given Mr. Zhou Yuan's improper intimate relationship with Ms. Su Wan during the marriage, and his significant financial gifts, our side reserves the right to reclaim this portion of the marital property. Third, we have obtained a complete chain of evidence proving Mr. Zhou Yuan's infidelity during his marriage. If he continues to maliciously manipulate public opinion, we will disclose all evidence to the public. I can imagine how grim Zhou Yuan's expression will be when he reads this letter. His meticulously crafted script of deep affection has been shattered by my lawyer's letter. He thought he was in the atmosphere, unaware that I had already reached the 5th floor. The game has just begun. The door to Zhou Yuan's office was tightly shut, but Assistant Li Hang and everyone in the secretarial department outside could clearly hear the sound of porcelain shattering from within. One crash, another sound, like a rapid drumbeat. It struck everyone's heart. They didn't dare to breathe. They had never seen President Zhou like this. In the impression of all employees, Zhou Yuan was always calm, composed, and in control of everything, even when faced with the greatest business crisis. He would only furrow his brow slightly, then issue clear and concise instructions to resolve everything. But now, he was like a beast trapped in a cage, enraged and powerless. Li Hang clutched the court summons that had just been delivered. The edges of the paper already damp with the sweat from his palm. Beside it lay the sternly worded lawyer's letter. Every word felt like a resounding slap, brutally striking Zhou Yuan's face, and also the faces of the entire company's PR team. They had, just moments before, molded General Manager Zhou into a devoted and deeply affectionate man. Shortly after, the divorce papers from the other woman's wife arrived. The reason cited was still adultery within marriage. This was quite possibly the biggest joke of the year. The online discourse had begun to shift subtly. Amidst the initial wave of comments overwhelmingly supporting Zhou Yuan, a few dissenting voices began to emerge. If it was the man's fault, then it makes sense that the woman would leave home with the child after giving birth, right? Waiting for a plot twist. I have a feeling things aren't as simple as they seem. This lawyer's letter is something else. It directly names the mistress, Su Wan. The PR manager's phone was practically ringing off the hook. He stood beside Li Hang, trembling, and asked, "Assistant Li, what do we do now?" President Zhou he. Wait. Li Hang uttered only one word. The office door finally opened. Zhou Yuan walked out. He had changed his clothes. His hair was neatly combed again, and his face showed no expression. Only the bloodshot eyes revealed his loss of control just now. Notify the PR department. His voice was hoarse. Delete all related press releases. Mr. Zhou. But what we've already done. The PR manager was stunned. Delete them all, Zhou Yuan repeated, his gaze slicing through him like a knife. I don't want to see this matter on any platform again. If you can't clean this up, you don't need to come to work tomorrow. The PR manager shivered in fear, nodded repeatedly, and ran back to his department. Li Hang. Zhou Yuan looked at his assistant. Mr. Zhou, what can I do for you? Get me the number for that lawyer. Zhang. Zhou Yuan redialed Zhang Kai's number. This time, the anger and command in his voice were gone. In their place was an exhaustion pushed to its absolute limit. Lawyer Zhang. It's Zhou Yuan. Mr. Zhou. Hello. Zhang Kai's tone was, as always, professional and even. What does she want? Exactly. Zhou Yuan asked. The question hung in the air, utterly powerless. What my client wants is clearly stated in the indictment. Besides a divorce, what else does she want? Zhou Yuan's voice held a note of pleading. She wants a divorce and custody of the children. Lawyer Zhang said, enunciating each word. Money, stocks, houses. I can give her all of that, as long as she withdraws the lawsuit. As long as she, Mr. Zhou. Zhang Qi interrupted him. Forgive my bluntness, but you still may not understand what Ms. Song truly wants. She doesn't want your assets. She wants to leave you and start a new life. This, for her, was the most important thing. On the other end of the line, there was a long, dead silence. Zhou Yuan held the phone, leaning against the cold wall, feeling despair for the first time. He realized that everything he had prided himself on, wealth, status, resources, in the face of Song Si's resolute departure, everything else became worthless. He had absolutely nothing to negotiate with her. Meanwhile, in the conference room of Chi CI Company, Song CI was holding a meeting with her team. Therefore, our first target client is the Fonya Group. She pointed to the logo on the PPT. Her eyes bright and full of confidence. Their autumn new product launch is in 2 months. As far as I know, they are not satisfied with their long-term advertising agency. This is our opportunity. The team members listened intently, their eyes gleaming with excitement. After the meeting, Song CI received a message from lawyer Zhang. The message briefly recounted his conversation with Zhou Yuan. Finally, lawyer Zhang added, Ms. Song, he's about to break. Song CI looked at the characters, her expression unchanged. She simply replied calmly, understood. Thank you for your hard work. Then, she turned off her phone and began organizing the materials for the afternoon meeting. Zhou Yuan's world was in turmoil, and her new world was just beginning. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, falling upon her. Warm and bright. Fonya Group is a well-known domestic light luxury women's wear brand. Their brand identity has always been elegant, independent, and confident. This perfectly matched Song Si's current state of mind. More importantly, for the past 5 years, the brand promotion for the Fonya Group had been handled by Zhou Yuan's company. Song CI knew the operational model of Zhou Yuan's company all too well. Their family was large and their operations were mature. But this also meant they were rigid and lacked innovation, especially when dealing with long-term, established clients like Fonya. They are more prone to falling into a complacent, inertial mindset. The proposals submitted are always safe and sound, merely changing the packaging without altering the substance. What Song CI aims to do is to use the sharpest scalpel to precisely pierce through their seemingly impenetrable defenses. She led her team, working through several sleepless nights, from market research to user persona analysis, and then to creative ideation. She personally oversaw every step. Finally, a proposal that could be called perfect lay before her. This plan completely overturned Fonya's previous promotional model, bold, avant-garde, and full of talking points. When Chen Jing came to see her, she was leading her team in the final mock proposal. My God, Director Song, are you trying to rob a bank? Chen Jing couldn't help but exclaim as she looked at the exquisite creativity on the PPT. This isn't robbery. It's taking back what rightfully belongs to me. Song CI smiled. Zhou Yuan's company was also involved in this bid, wasn't it? Qin Jing asked. Of course. Then we're in for a good show. Qin Jing said with a gloating expression. I really want to see the look on Zhou Yuan's face when he discovers that the one who kicked him out was his ex-wife, whom he so disdained. I'm not interested in seeing his expression, Song Xiai said. I only care if we can win. On the day of the bid, Song Xiai wore a well-tailored business suit, her long hair tied up, exuding competence and elegance. As she walked into the conference room of Fengya Group, she bumped into the team from Zhou Yuan's company. Leading them was a vice president highly valued by Zhou Yuan. The man, upon seeing Song Xiai, clearly froze. His eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions. There was surprise, disdain, and wariness. He likely never imagined that the Mrs. Zhou, who once only followed behind Zhou Yuan, offering gentle smiles, would appear here as a competitor. Song Xiai ignored his gaze, simply offering a slight smile and a nod before walking straight in. The order of the proposals she drew was before Zhou Yuan's company. Song Xiai performed to the best of her ability throughout the entire proposal process. She was confident, composed, logical, and engaging. She presented a complex and grand idea in a vivid, interesting, and captivating manner. As she uttered her final word and bowed in thanks, the conference room erupted in enthusiastic applause. The chairperson of Elegance, an elegant woman in her 50s, looked at Song Xiai with eyes full of admiration. Song Xiai knew that she had won half of this battle. The results would be announced in 3 days. Cheatsy Company, with an absolute advantage, won the full brand agency for Fengya Group for the next 3 years. The moment the news broke, thunderous cheers erupted in the small office. At that opportune moment, Song Xi's phone received a congratulatory message from Qin Jing. Well done. I heard Zhou Yuan threw a huge tantrum in the office, scolding the vice president who led the team until he was thoroughly berated. It is said that he still doesn't know that Cheatsy was opened by you. He only knows that he was humiliated by an unknown small company. Song Xiai looked at the message, the corners of her mouth turning up slightly. She picked up the intercom and said to her assistant, inform everyone that I'm treating tonight. We're celebrating at Wangjiang Pavilion, and in another office building dozens of kilometers away. Zhou Yuan sat in the CEO's office, his face ashen. He had just finished a call with the chairman of Fengya Group. The other party's words were polite, but their meaning was clear. They needed something new, and Zhou Yuan's company couldn't provide it. Investigate it for me, he roared at the trembling vice president in front of him. What exactly is this Cheatsy? Why didn't we get any wind of it before? The vice president, sweating profusely, tremblingly handed over a document. Mr. Zhou, we've found something. This company was just registered last month. The legal representative is named Song Xiai. The office fell into a terrifying silence. The color drained from Zhou Yuan's face. Inch by inch, slowly, word by word, he uttered the name, Qi, Ci, Song, Ci. He finally understood. So, this wasn't just an ordinary business failure. This was a silent war that Song Xiai had launched against him. She didn't cry, nor did she make a scene. She simply delivered the heaviest blow in the very way he was most proud of. A vast, unprecedented panic instantly seized his heart. He realized that he seemed to have never truly known the woman who had shared his bed for 7 years. Humiliation, rage, and a fear he wouldn't even admit to himself. Complex emotions, like a vast net, ensnared Zhou Yuan tightly. He couldn't accept it. He couldn't accept that the woman who had once hung on his every word, who had seen him as her entire world, had transformed into his rival in the business arena. And not just that, but she had delivered him such a humiliating defeat. All his anxiety and frustration of the past few days instantly found an outlet. He had to find her. Immediately. Right away. He had to ask her face to face. What exactly did she want to do? This time, he didn't go through his assistant or lawyers. He personally mobilized all the connections and resources he could access. The company's registration information is public. He quickly found the office address of Cheatsy Company, a co-working space he had never heard of. Zhou Yuan drove, speeding all the way. That name echoed repeatedly in his mind. Chi Ci. Song Ci. Good. Very good. She actually used this method to remind him of her existence. When he rushed into the modern office building and announced Chi Ci at the front desk, his entire being was as taut as a drawn bow. The receptionist at the front desk was startled by his gloomy expression and imposing aura, and quickly pointed him in the right direction. He strode over. Then, he saw it. In an open-plan office area, there was a separate glass-walled office. The door bore the Cheatsy logo. Through the transparent glass wall, he immediately spotted the figure who haunted his dreams and made his teeth ache with hatred. Song Ci was standing in front of a whiteboard, holding a marker. She was explaining something to her team. Her face held an expression of focused confidence. That radiance was something Zhou Yuan hadn't seen on her face for a very, very long time. In fact, the Song Ci of his memory had never looked so vibrant and alive. The her in his memory was always gentle, quiet, like a backdrop painting that needed to be carefully cherished. And the woman before him was the sole protagonist in this painting. Anger, mixed with an indescribable jealousy, instantly clouded his mind. He didn't knock, but pushed the door open and barged in. Song Ci. He growled her name. The discussion in the conference room came to an abrupt halt. All eyes turned to the uninvited guest. Song Ci's smile slowly froze the moment she saw him. But that was only a moment's surprise. The next second, her eyes returned to their usual calm, as placid as a bottomless lake. You all go out for a bit. Take 5 minutes, she said to her team, her voice devoid of any ripple. The young employees exchanged glances, but obediently rose and filed out. The vast office was left with just the two of them. What are you doing here? Song Ci spoke first, her tone as distant as if she were speaking to a stranger. What am I doing here? Zhou Yuan was angered by her cold attitude. He took a step forward, closing in on her. I'd like to ask you, what do you think you're doing? Starting a company and stealing my clients. Is this how you're getting revenge on me? His voice was filled with accusation and denunciation. Song Ci looked at him and suddenly found it a little ridiculous. Zhou Yuan, don't you think you're overestimating yourself? I started this company for myself, for my daughter, for my life. It has nothing to do with you. As for your clients, business is a battlefield. The highest bidder wins. The most capable prevails. If you lost, it only means your team is inferior to mine. Her words were calm, clear, and each one struck a dagger to the heart. Every word precisely landed on Zhou Yuan's sore spot. You. Zhou Yuan trembled with rage. Song Ci, don't you forget. Who gave you everything you have now? The money for your university, the capital for your company. My university tuition and living expenses were covered by my own scholarships and part-time jobs. Song Ci interrupted him coldly. As for the money to start the company, it was part of my premarital assets. And also the commissions I earned over the years managing your investments. Did you think I was truly that housewife who knew nothing about numbers? Zhou Yuan was completely stunned. He looked at her as if he were meeting her for the first time, his gaze entirely unfamiliar. We don't have to go on like this anymore. He suddenly softened his tone. Weary. Give it up. Cece. Withdraw the lawsuit. Close the company. And come home with me. I can let bygones be bygones. Song Ci looked at him as if he were the biggest joke in the world. Home. Which home? The villa with only a nanny and cold furniture. Zhou Yuan. You still don't understand. We ended a long time ago. It ended when you abandoned me alone in the delivery room for Su Wan. After she finished speaking, she turned and pressed the intercom button on the desk. Security. This is Chi Ci Company on the 15th floor. We have an unauthorized individual causing a disturbance and harassing employees. Please come up and handle it. Zhou Yuan stared at her in disbelief. She actually called security to escort him out. Song Si. How dare you? Why wouldn't I dare? Song Si met his gaze, her eyes devoid of any fear or lingering affection. Mr. Zhou, I ask you to leave my company immediately. Otherwise, I will press charges for trespassing and harassment. Soon, 2 uniformed security guards rushed over. Sir, please come with us. Looking at Song Si's cold and resolute face, Zhou Yuan's heart sank little by little. He was escorted out of the office by the security guards, one on each side. Behind him, the glass door slowly closed. He watched as Song Si turned around, picked up the whiteboard eraser, and meticulously wiped away the charts and diagrams he couldn't understand. Bit by bit, it was as if she were completely erasing him from her life. The moment he was escorted out of the office building by security guards, Zhou Yuan felt all the strength drain from his body. The sunlight was dazzling, making him feel a little dizzy. People passing by cast curious glances his way. Those gazes felt like needles, pricking at his pride. He struggled out of the security guard's grasp, straightening his disheveled collar. In his mind, Song Si's icy face replayed over and over, and her words, "Please leave my company immediately." She treated him like trash, unreasonable, bothersome trash that needed to be cleared out. How could this happen? How did things turn out this way? He started the car and drove aimlessly through the streets. The city's clamor, muffled by the car window, became blurred and unreal. For the first time, he felt loneliness, a loneliness that seeped into his bones. Boundless and infinite. He took out his phone, instinctively wanting to call someone. He scrolled through his contacts, but couldn't find anyone to confide in. Li Hang, that was his subordinate. He couldn't show weakness in front of him. Those business partners, they would only laugh at him. Su Wan, he thought of her, the woman who once made him feel relaxed, amused, and allowed him to breathe a sigh of relief from the dullness of his marriage. But now, the mere thought of her only made him feel agitated. If it weren't for going to Paris to accompany her, he wouldn't have returned home to find it empty. If she hadn't taken it upon herself to call Song Si, perhaps things wouldn't have escalated to this point. He blamed everyone else for all his mistakes. Never once did he consider that the root of the problem lay within himself. He parked the car by the river and lit a cigarette. Amidst the swirling smoke, his thoughts drifted back many years. It was in college that he first met Song Si. She was wearing a white dress, standing in front of the library bookshelves, and the sunlight filtering through the window cast a golden halo around her. Back then, he had nothing but a fiery passion and impractical dreams. It was Song Si who stayed by his side during the most difficult period of his. He couldn't even afford to pay his rent. It was Song Si who used the money she earned from tutoring to buy him a steaming bowl of beef noodles. When his company landed its first major order, he was so excited he couldn't sleep all night. It was Song Si who accompanied him in their tiny rented room, drinking cheap beer and dreaming of the future. He once told her, "Cece, when I succeed, I will definitely make you the happiest woman in the world." He thought he had. He gave her a big house, luxury cars, and credit cards with no limit. He allowed her to stop working, to simply be his Mrs. Zhou with peace of mind. He thought this was the happiness she desired. He was wrong, terribly wrong. What he gave was never what she wanted. He was merely using material possessions to fill the void of his emotional absence and laziness. A cigarette burned down, scorching his finger. He snapped back to reality. No, he couldn't just let it go. He couldn't lose her, and he certainly couldn't lose his child. He crushed the cigarette butt and started the car again. The last trace of warmth in his eyes was replaced by ferocity. If gentleness would work, then force it must be. Song Si, you forced me to do this. Meanwhile, at Cheatsy Company, Song Si quickly regained her composure and returned to her work. Zhou Yuan's appearance was like a minor interlude, leaving no significant trace in her heart. Instead, it strengthened her resolve to become stronger. Only by being strong enough could she protect herself and her daughter, ensuring they wouldn't be bullied by anyone. In the afternoon, she received a personal call from Ms. Dong, the chairperson of the Fonya Group. Director Song. I apologize for the intrusion. Ms. Dong's voice was gentle yet firm. Ms. Dong, you're too kind. Just call me Song Si. All right. Song Si. Ms. Dong chuckled. The board and I are very satisfied with your proposal. Personally, I admire you greatly. Thank you for your recognition. I was wondering if you have time tonight. I'd like to invite you to dinner. On a personal basis. Song Si understood Ms. Dong's intentions after a moment's thought. This was more than just a meal. It was also a stance, a signal of alliance. It's my honor. She agreed readily. Zhou Yuan began his counterattack. He knew that crushing a startup company commercially would be too easy. But he didn't, because he knew that would only push Song Si further away. What he needed to attack was the softest, most cherished place in her heart, their daughter. He submitted an urgent application to the court through his lawyer, claiming that Song Si's mental state was unstable, suspected of suffering from severe postpartum depression. Furthermore, he had taken the infant, who was less than a year old, without notifying the guardian, which was suspected of malicious concealment. He requested the court to immediately revoke Song Si's guardianship and allow him, as the father, to take the child back for upbringing. The application was written with tears and snot. He also attached some so-called evidence. For example, medical records showing occasional emotional fluctuations during Song Si's pregnancy. For example, Aunt Wang's testimony that the madam would sometimes stare blankly and feel down during her confinement month. He even found some psychologists who issued ambiguous assessment reports. The maliciousness of his intentions and the baseness of his methods were outrageous. Lawyer Zhang sent this document to Song Si immediately. He's lost his mind. This is Lawyer Zhang's evaluation. Song Si looked at the document, trembling with anger. She could tolerate Zhou Yuan's betrayal, his disregard for her, and his suppression of her career. But she absolutely could not tolerate him using such despicable means to slander her and try to snatch her child. That was her bottom line. It was her life. Zhou Yuan, you've touched my inverse scale. Almost simultaneously, a new trend emerged online. Some prominent parenting influencers and so-called family emotional experts began publishing articles and videos. The titles were sensational. Warning: mothers with postpartum depression might do irreversible things to their children. Children are not private property. Is it illegal for a mother to take her child away unilaterally? Although the article did not name names, all the case studies, subtly or overtly, pointed to her and Zhou Yuan's situation. They were creating a public opinion atmosphere, attempting to portray Song Si as emotionally unstable, unfit to raise children, dangerous mother, and Zhou Yuan as the loving father, willing to do anything to protect his child, great father. This move was more vicious than any previous tactic. It struck at the heart. Upon seeing these news reports, Chen Jing rushed directly to Song Si's office. "Cici, this is no longer a simple divorce. This is war. This is character assassination. We must fight back." Song Si sat in her chair, her face pale, but her eyes were exceptionally resolute. She knew that silence and yielding could no longer solve the problem. When the other party starts to throw mud at you by any means necessary, your only choice is to pick up your weapon and beat them until they can never get back up. Lawyer Zhang. She dialed the phone. Ms. Song. In drafting the rebuttal statement. No. Song Si interrupted him. The statement is too weak. What I want isn't an explanation. I want him ruined. On the other end of the line, Lawyer Zhang was silent for a few seconds. I understand. Compile all the evidence of his infidelity during our marriage into the most potent summary and send it to the media. Song Sis' voice was as cold as ice. Also, contact that most authoritative financial magazine I mentioned to you before. I want to do an exclusive interview. Ms. Song, are you sure? Lawyer Zhang asked, a hint of worry in his voice. Once we take this step, there's no turning back. Your personal privacy will also be completely exposed to the public. I'm sure, Song Si replied. If he wants to fight a war of public opinion, they'll fight him to the very end. I will show everyone what a hypocrite the outwardly respectable President Zhou truly is. I will make him pay the most agonizing price for every word he has spoken and every action he has taken. After hanging up the phone, Song Si opened her computer and created a new document. The title of the document was, My 7 Years, My Nothingness, and My New Beginning. She began to tap on the keyboard. Piece by piece, she peeled open the marriage that had long rotted in her heart, exposing it to the world, the grievances that no one knew about, those tears shed in the dead of night, those efforts that went unnoticed, and that trip to Paris, which shattered her heart completely. She wasn't trying to elicit pity. She was merely stating a fact. The entire process of a woman's journey from brimming hope to utter despair. Zhou Yuan, you have destroyed all my imagination of love. Then, I will destroy what you value most. Fame and glory. The interview with the financial magazine was scheduled for 3 days later. For those 3 days, Song Si barely slept. On one hand, she had to deal with a mountain of work at the company. The Fonya project had officially launched and could not afford any setbacks. On the other hand, she had to communicate repeatedly with her legal team, finalizing every detail of the interview and every piece of evidence that needed to be disclosed. Qin Jing stayed by her side, watching her waste away before her very eyes, her heart aching. CICI. Why don't we just let it go? She urged. Let's ignore him and take the child somewhere no one knows us. And start over. Song Si shook her head. Jing, you don't understand. It's not as simple as just saving face. If I back down now, it'll be forever branded as mentally unstable. My daughter will grow up, and people will point at her and say, your mother is crazy. I can't let her live under such a shadow. This fight, I'm not fighting for myself. I'm fighting for her. I want to tell her, with my head held high, that her mother was not a madwoman, but a warrior. On the day of the interview, Song Si chose a white shirt and wore delicate, light makeup. She looked calm, gentle, and even more beautiful than before. But in those eyes, there was a heart-stopping power. Her interviewer was a renowned female journalist in the industry, known for her sharp wit and in-depth reporting. The interview began. The very first question the journalist posed was extremely pointed. Ms. Song, how do you respond to Mr. Zhou Yuan's accusations that you suffer from severe postpartum depression and hid the child? Song Si looked at the camera and spoke calmly. Firstly, I admit that for a period after giving birth, I did experience low moods. I believe this is a normal phase many new mothers go through. But this is entirely different from being mentally unstable. I receive regular psychological counseling, and my doctor can attest that my mental state is very healthy. As for hiding the child, that is even more absurd. I left that home because my marriage had reached its end. I took my daughter with me because I am her mother, her primary guardian. A newborn infant needs a mother's care the most. This is common sense. Her answer was neither humble nor arrogant, but reasoned and well supported. Then, can you tell us what reason led you to resolutely choose divorce right after giving birth? The reporter pressed. Song Si's gaze lowered for a moment. When she looked up again, her eyes were slightly red, but her gaze remained firm. Because when I needed him most, he wasn't there. When I was lying in the delivery room, fighting death due to severe bleeding, my husband, Mr. Zhou Yuan, was 10,000 kilometers away in Paris. spending a romantic Valentine's Day with another woman. These words were like a bombshell. Instantly, the air in the entire interview room froze. Are you referring to Ms. Soo-won? Yes. Do you have proof? Of course. Song Si faced the camera and took out a stack of documents. The first was Jo Eun's flight ticket order to Paris, on the same flight as Soo-won, in the adjacent seat. The second was the record of them staying at the same five-star hotel in Paris. The third was Jo Eun's credit card bills for Soo-won's luxury shopping during his stay in Paris, totaling several million. The fourth, and most damning, it was Jo Eun's bank statement. The day before she gave birth, he had transferred $5,200,000 to Soo-won's account. The transfer note read, "Happy Valentine's Day, baby." As these pieces of evidence, displayed clearly before the national audience through high-definition lenses, everyone fell silent. All the sympathy for Jo Eun, all the accusations against Song Si, at this moment, had turned into a colossal joke. At the end of the interview, the reporter asked her, "Ms. Song, after all that has happened, what are your plans for the future?" Song Si revealed the first genuine smile she had shown in a long time. "I will continue to run my company and make it bigger and stronger. I will raise my daughter well, ensuring she grows up healthy and happy in a loving environment. I will tell her that a woman's worth has never been defined by marriage or by men. We can be wives. We can be mothers. But first and foremost, we are ourselves." After the interview aired, public opinion completely reversed. The stock prices of Jo Eun and his company, overnight, his meticulously crafted persona of the devoted CEO shattered, leaving not even a speck of dust. He became the scumbag, the liar, the hypocrite, reviled by the entire internet. Soo-won was also exposed, becoming a homewrecker everyone wanted to attack, and all her endorsements and work were cancelled. Jo Eun locked himself in his office, staring at Song Si's calm and resolute face on the computer screen. He knew he had lost. He had lost utterly and completely. What he had lost was not merely his reputation, his career. What he had lost was the best Song Si, the one who once had eyes only for him, who was willing to give everything for him. The phone rang. It was lawyer Zhang. "Mr. Jo, my client has agreed to talk with you." Jo Eun held the phone, his hand trembling violently. He managed to force out a single word from his throat with all his might. "Okay." The meeting place was arranged at lawyer Zhang's firm, a quiet conference room, devoid of any superfluous decoration. Jo Eun arrived first. When Song Si walked in, she saw him sitting by the window. In just a few short days, he looked 10 years older. His once neatly kept hair was now somewhat disheveled. The expensive suit still exuded an air of dejection. A blue stubble shadowed his jaw, his eye sockets sunken and bloodshot. He looked up at the sound of the door opening. Their eyes met. His eyes were filled with a complex mix of emotions: regret, pain, pleading, and a despair he himself hadn't even noticed. And Song Si's gaze was calm, undisturbed, like an ancient well, no longer capable of stirring any ripples. She wore a cream-colored suit, her makeup subtle and elegant, composed, calm, graceful, as if the storm of public opinion that had swept the internet just before had nothing to do with her. She was merely a professional woman, here to handle an ordinary contract. Lawyer Zhang followed her, placing a document gently in the center of the conference table. "Mr. Jo, this is the final version of the divorce agreement. Ms. Song has waived her claim for compensation regarding your marital infidelity. We only request that the division of marital property be conducted according to legal provisions, and that full custody of our daughter be granted. If you have no objections, you may sign." Jo Eun's gaze did not fall on the agreement. He merely stared intently at Song Si. "Cece." His voice was as hoarse as if it had been scraped by sandpaper. "Do we really have to go this far?" Song Si didn't answer. She simply pulled out a chair and sat down opposite him. with an almost indifferent gaze. She looked at him. I was wrong, Zhou Yuan said. I really know I was wrong. I shouldn't have left you when you needed me most. I shouldn't have been deceived by Su Wan. I shouldn't have hurt you with such despicable means. Will you forgive me? Please. We're starting over. I swear. I'll put all my heart and soul into you and the children. I'll be a good husband. A good father. Every word he spoke was filled with sincerity. If it were Song Si from half a year ago hearing this, perhaps she would have softened. Perhaps she would have wavered. But now, she only found it laughable. Zhou Yuan. She finally spoke. Her voice clear and cold. You don't love me, nor do you regret hurting me. You just can't accept your own failure. You can't accept that the business empire you built with your own hands is crumbling because of me. You cannot accept that the control you prided yourself on is utterly useless. With me, what you love is yourself, your reputation, your wealth. Now that these things are threatened, you remember me. Remember this wife identity that can help you salvage everything. Song Si's words were like a sharp scalpel. It precisely dissected all his hypocritical pretense, revealing the utterly selfish core within. Zhou Yuan's face turned pale, inch by inch. No, it's not. His defense appeared so pale and powerless. Sign it. Song Si pushed the agreement in front of him. Once you sign, it will be a release for both of us. Zhou Yuan looked at the black and white text, his hands beginning to tremble uncontrollably. I want to see the child, he said, his voice laced with a plea. I haven't held her properly since she was born. Finally. A flicker of emotion crossed Song Si's eyes. It was a fleeting, icy mockery. You are not worthy, she said. The moment you decided to slander me with postpartum depression in an attempt to take her away, you forfeited your right to be her father forever. Zhou Yuan, my daughter. She will have a bright and brilliant future. And in that future, there will be no you. These words became the last straw that broke Zhou Yuan. He could no longer hold himself up. His body lurched forward, hands bracing on the conference table, his head buried deep. A long suppressed, pained whimper escaped his throat. A man who had once commanded the world, arrogant and invincible, now wept like a child. Song Si watched him quietly. In her heart, there was no joy, nor pity, a calm. Only after the dust had settled, it was all over. She picked up the pen from the table and signed her name on the agreement. Song Si. 2 characters. Written clearly and forcefully. She placed the pen beside the agreement. Then, she stood up. Lawyer Zhang, I'll trouble you with the rest. After she finished speaking, she didn't look at Zhou Yuan again. She turned and walked towards the door. Zhou Yuan suddenly raised his head and shouted at her, retreating back. Don't go. Song Si's footsteps did not falter in the slightest. She pushed open the door and walked out. The corridor outside the door was bathed in brilliant sunshine. The warm light fell upon her, as if draping her in a golden cloak. The conference room door, behind her, slowly closed. It shut out the man's sobs, and it shut out her entire dark past. She took a deep breath, smelling the air, the scent of freedom. She took out her phone and dialed Qin Jing's number. Jing. It's all done. Her voice carried a light, relieved tone. Tonight. Well, take the baby out for a big meal. On the other end of the phone, Qin Jing's excited cheers could be heard. 1 year later, Cheesy Company had become the most eye-catching dark horse in the industry, winning awards incessantly. The cover story of the latest issue of Business Women magazine featured Song Si. In the photograph, she was holding a baby girl who had just learned to walk, her smile as bright as a little sun. Her face was alight with a confident, serene, and happy smile. The magazine's title read, Rebirth from Ashes, Song Si and Her Business Empire. And just 1 month before that issue's release, a brief financial news report had stated, Zhou Yuan's company, due to poor management and debts exceeding assets, has officially filed for bankruptcy liquidation. He himself had long since disappeared from public view. No one cared anymore where he had gone. It was as if he had never existed in this world. The sun was shining, and the breeze was gentle. Song Si held her daughter's small hand as they walked downstairs from the company building. Her daughter pointed at a white cloud drifting across the sky and exclaimed in a childish voice, "Mommy, look." Song Si looked up, squinting her eyes. The sky, as blue as washed silk,